Hello everyone, welcome to this new edition of our EENA webinar series on emergency communications reforms. I'm Taviana Caminiti, Events Manager at EENA, and it's already 3 p.m. sharp, so I officially propose to start this new edition, which will focus on the emergency communication reforms of one single country, which is France. As you know, emergency services operates very differently across continents. Even within the same country, there can be differences in the structure, technologies, and procedures of each organization. So in this ever-changing context, EENA has decided to underline every month through these webinars the emergency communications reforms of different European countries. As most of you probably know, France is one of these EU countries that has started a deep transformation of their emergency communication these last 5 years through a variety of reforms and projects that will be addressed today by our 3 experienced officials from the Ministry of the Interior that we warmly thank for being there with us today. Before I introduce our experts of today and I give them the floor, I just would like to remind that this webinar is recorded and that you can find the presentations and the recording from tomorrow afternoon on the EENA website and on our YouTube channel. Also, during the presentation, feel free to write your questions in the chat window that you can find on the right side of your screen. The questions are not public, so don't be shy. And we will read them loudly to our speakers at the end of their presentation that will last about 40-45 minutes. If your question is not answered due to time constraint, feel free to contact them individually after the webinar. Their contact details will be shared in their final slide. That being said, it's now time for me to introduce you the speakers of today. So we have Mr. Michel Monneray, Director of the Digital Agency for Civil Protection that was created in 2018, where Mr. Monneray coordinates digital projects such as the deployment of IML and the implementation of Nexis 18112, which is the new digital emergency services platform that he will explain today. Then we have Préfet Guillaume Lambert, head of the French Public Safety Broadband Network program called Réseau Radio du Futur at the Ministry of the Interior of France, which is also a major project that is under development to transit the rescue operation teams to the data age. And finally, we have Mr. Romain Moutard, Program Director at the Ministry of the Interior of France, who has worked this last year in the field of alert and rescue, and more particularly in the deployment of the French public warning system, so-called Dfirlet. So I will start now to give the floor to Mr. Moutard, who will present the agenda of this webinar.
Thanks, Taviana, and hi everyone. To begin this webinar, I present to you the agenda of this hour to spend together. I will start in a few moments by presenting the current situation in France for emergency calls handling system. Michel Monneray will then present the Nexis project, which will allow me to discuss with you the target system in which France is planning to move. Then the 3 French speakers will then detail some aspects of the reform of emergency communication in France. It's then the set of 3 presenters who will detail some aspects of the reform through topics such as advanced mobile location, ESINet, public warning system, or eCall. Finally, before a question and answer session, Guillaume Lambert will present the very structuring projects concerning critical communication for rescue and security services. I think, Taviana, that we can move on to the next slide to start the presentation itself. And the next one. Thanks. As you can see, there is no dedicated structure handling 112 calls, which are routes to one of the national emergency services. More specifically, in 80% of cases, it's a fire and rescue service to which the call is made, and to an emergency medical service in the remaining 20%. The main feature of our current model are calls to 12 national numbers, and 112 calls are redirected to the emergency response organizations, the heroes. And if the intervention of another hero is required, the call and sometimes emergency data are forwarded to the most appropriate hero. We have a large number of PSAPs in France, more than 450, and they use heterogeneous technology and can only receive voice calls. Only the PSAP 114, which is accessible to people with disabilities, is currently capable of full conversation or chat. As you can understand, the situation is far from satisfactory and is far from all the European recommendations that we must respect. Fortunately, France is committed to reforming its tools, particularly for the benefits of fire and rescue services. This aspect will now be detailed by Michel Monroy.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Roman, for giving me the floor. It is always an honor to speak with the EENA, because we need some kind of non-governmental organization to proceed and to go further in the field of tech for rescue. Now, what is the current situation with the fire and rescue services? As a matter of fact, as Roman has said, in France there are a lot of PSAPs. It stems from an administrative division of France between 100 roughly departments, which are local councils designed for social cohesion and security. And civil security, as in other country, civil protection is a co-production between central state and local councils. But in France, it means that regarding information system, that IT systems are partitioned, because the fire and rescue service are operated by local councils, and the procurement of the information system is organized locally. There is not currently any organization to centralize it, to mutualize, and the IT system are partitions. They don't use any data or poor data, and unfortunately, it doesn't deal with the industrial revolution we are encountering now, mean the digital revolution. And sometimes technical environments are fragile. FRS systems are very unequally operable with other emergency hero, and with police and with the emergency medical services, for examples. And during the COVID crisis, there has been a massive surge of calls towards the emergency medical services, and the coordination was had to be made, but sometimes on local basis, and with very poor coordination tools. So the premises of Nexis, which was launched by Guillaume Lambert, Préfet, will speak after me, is to be an open, user-oriented and scalable system, a product, but also a platform of digital services designed for civil security and for emergency response. It will deal with data, with a massive amount of data, which could be which will be exploited by authorities to predict and to understand better what's happening in the fields of emergency response. All Dfirlet will benefit from the best technologies. There will be it will decrease the cost of the system, and the national technical environment will be safer than the local environments we are knowing currently. And last but not least, Nexis will enable interoperability between emergency services. So what is the next slide, please, just to show how could it work. Nexis is the system of system. You have, first of all, an emergency services IP network, which is based on Securier, whose name is Securier, and it will deal with an alert management systems who will gather any kind of alert, not only for phone calls, but any kind of emergency communication, just as the European communication for electronic European code for electronic communication will require. There will be an operation management systems who will dispatch the different assets, mobile vehicle or of firemen. There will be an exchange management system will ensure interoperability with other first responder, and a geographic information system at the state of the art, which will allow a more friendly user interface, and a crisis management system, which will be connected to all kinds of authorities, local authorities, but also central governmental authorities. And it will allow a very smooth transition from the local day-to-day daily event to the massive crisis. This is the state of the art of the emergency system. So next slide, please. And you will see now a screenshot of our alert management system. So there is a map, which is not very novel, but also there is also a kind of question to analyze and to sum up the whole call in a language that will be understandable by other forces. So everything is easy to process, is user friendly, and the emergency service interoperability framework principle are implemented, integrated into the qualification tool. And you can see also the emergency calls popping up in the chart, and it is very easy to assign priorities for the human operator, which is not exactly what's happening currently with the dispatch system, with the current system. So next slide, please, to show that our system Nexis is natively eligible as a national 112 reception tool. Why? Because it allows to proceed from the phone calls to the data era. Nexis 18112 can collect, process, and use data before the call is even answered. There is an example that will be shown later with the advanced mobile location. And it can manage also multimedia flows thanks to the EasyNet. Nexis also can adapt to different alert management organization. Nexis is a system of system, and so you can use one system for a common organization, a common emergency centers, and use another system for more specialized emergency centers, PSAPs. And also Nexis is resilient because it does enable assistance between different PSAPs, between fire and rescue services, because they share a single common network for gathering emergency communication, and they share the same system for qualification. And so we have a virtual architecture that allow to escape from physical architecture, physical communication architecture, PABX, and so forth. And so we are able to create any PSAPs with a virtual on demand and as a service limit of competencies of relevance, which is very useful to allow assistance between different FRS in time of crisis. And last but not least, again, proposing an objective qualification system. You mean that interoperability in any country is not only a matter of technical interoperability, but it is a matter of speaking the same language, having the same names, to understand everybody else, the other colleague quite clearly and quite easily, which is required in time of emergency operation. So next slide, please, just to provide you with the screenshot of the operations management systems, which use an artificial intelligence box to propose the engines, the vehicle to send to dispatch. Again, there is a chart. It is charge-based. The user experience is easier with an approach on the map. And you can see the mobilization system, as I was speaking about, is being developed, is being now finalized to optimize the choice of resource for each intervention. Currently, if I can spend 30 seconds about it, currently the dispatch system are based only on the time or the delay of intervention. Now, the artificial intelligence engine will allow to take into account not only the time of intervention, but also the quality of the response, and also the result of the response for the global availabilities of fire and rescue and services means. So next slide, please. The first deployment of Nexis is aimed at the end of 2021. It means these years. It means that the main objective is during the 2 years stepping up all the work that has been made during 25 years. It's a real challenge because we have to provide new services such as mutual assistance, and we have also to provide the legacy. I mean, so that the way that firemen are working currently. And so there is big business of change management, but which is quite passionate, quite exciting always. So next slide, please. Just to see that I was calling of Nexis not only as a product but also as a platform. We have developed an app 102 for alerting emergency service, which is which has sparked the interest of the Olympic Games governmental authorities, because during the Olympic Games we will have to deal with 10 million people of public in the Île-de-France region, in the Paris region. It means that the population of the Paris region will increase twice, and which is a massive challenge. And with different language and using an app will provide the emergency callers with more services and will allow to be more efficient. Our designer also has been retained to illustrate to the medical guidance application regarding COVID-19 symptoms on the government website. Thirdly, we have NKey, which is an operational information platform for mayors and prefects. It means firemen or authorities, firemen, administrative authority, and operational authorities on the field to exchange information with a single smartphone, and exchanging safely with a single smartphone, and providing the mayors with tools to manage crises. And so we aim to be connected with a lot of information system with the information system of the emergency medical services, and to exchange as any data it is required to provide in spite of the number of PSAPs, a more coordinated, a more integrated, and a more efficient emergency national system. And now I'll turn it back to Romain to speak of the target model of the 112.
Thanks, Michel. Effectively, the implementation of an information system as outlined by Michel Monet now allows the French government to consider changing the model for handling emergency communication. Our ambition is now to be able to experiment with a new model, integrated the recommendation of the NG112, and generally to move from the era of emergency call to emergency communication. A bill, a law project will be presented to Parliament this month too. I hope launch an experiment of this new model. Thus, France is engaged in the transition to the era of data in a whole encompassing transformation concerning emergency services, which will now detail for you with Michel and Guillaume.
Thank you, Romain. It's about the advanced mobile location. So you are pretty aware that the localization of smartphone under the Universal Services European Directive is based upon cellular technologies localization with the nodes and so forth. And this is not very good, precise way of localizing callers, emergency callers. And so the last directive, the last European directive, European Code for Electronic Communication, has required that all calls to the 112 number, when the technology is available, should be made by the advanced mobile location. It means with the data from the smartphones. And so all European member states had to be compliant with this deadline at the end of the previous years, at the end of 2020. And it has been done by France for all these numbers. For the fire and rescue services, it is fully operational. You see there are two ways of implementing AML. AML, how does it work? It means that for people who are newcomer in the field, it means that when you dial the 112, you are automatically sending by the operating system one SMS with the GPS, the coordinate with GPS location, or the Wi-Fi location as well, to a big system that gathers all this data and makes it available to PSAPs. So it works, and we have managed also to carry on a profitable mutualization with the health ministry, because some emergency medical service are now operating the AML. Just the time of months before they are all equipped with AML. So next slide also for the another innovation with the intelligent and resilient emergency communication service. I was forgetting to say that with the AML, what you have is that before you even manage to establish a telephonic communication, a phone communication, you are sending data. And this is the new revolution. You are using data, and now France can visualize, in spite of the big number of PSAPs, all emergency numbers on chart, on map. And so it's very, very relevant for governmental authorities. So what is the emergency intelligent and resilient communication services? Secourier will be the new network to mutualize access to communication operator by the PSAPs and by the fire and rescue service. Currently, each FRS or each PSAPs has its own subscribing operator. I subscribe to one operator, usually the historic operator. The result is that there is a lot of expense. It's been already said, and also the communication is established solely on a phone way, on a voice way, on a voice canal. And with our target operating mode, all these all the connection will be mutualized on a single and common networks, which will be based on IP technologies, and which will allow to send phone calls when to any PSAPs who is able to provide assistance to another PSAPs. Say, for instance, PSAPs of a department which is under massive flood or massive industrial catastrophe, and the PSAPs will be flooded by phone calls, by emergency phone calls. And with this system, another PSAPs, thanks to Nexis, will be allowed to assist it. And so it's very important in the building of Nexis. So we are currently under tender of this emergency communication networks, and so I can only advise you, if you want to know more about it, to see our tender in the place of Paris. So next slide, please. Next slide. It's time to turn it back again to Romain, who is going to speak us about the Dfirlet project stakeholder, which will be pretty helped by all the innovation of Nexis, because it will allow the public authorities to take into account the massive flood of emergency calls, which are the first signals of something is going wrong and catastrophe is running. Thank you. Romain, you are mute. Sorry.
Sorry, thanks, Michel. Beyond the European rules, the Lubrizol fire, the deadly floods in the south of France, and now the crisis, the health crisis, have highlighted the need for efficient public warning systems. This allow public authorities to quickly alert the population and let them know of an ongoing crisis or imminent threat. To this end, the French Ministry of Interior has set up multidisciplinary teams representing the security and rescue profession, who are the project stakeholders. The General Office of the French Ministry of Interior is the project sponsor, which oversees the projects, mobilizes human and financial resources from its different entities, and takes the major decision of the project. At the operational level, the project is led by the digital division of the ministry, the DENUM, acting at every steps, technical, functional, statutory. It coordinates tasks with the functional management, which defines the requirements for the Dfirlet system. It includes various police entities, Paris Prefecture, the civil protection in all French territories. In parallel, Dfirlet implementation needs technical work in the telecom infrastructures network of French operators, and it's coordinated by the CCED, which is attached at the Ministry of Economic. I said the next slide, please, Taviana. Thanks. As said previously, one of the French specificity is how spread is its territory. While it was not included in the European directive, it was decided that the French territory as a whole should be included in FRLEC perimeters. This obviously is for consistency and national solidarity. Thus, population alert system to implement must be accessible equally to any person using a cell phone in stricken areas. It includes local residents, national citizens, roaming in stranger regardless of their phone, MNO and service providers. This geographic spread has to be associated with the fact that telecom coverage and operators depends of each territory with various population densities. Next slide, please. Since one technology can't instantly reach all the population, we believe that many different channels must be considered to maximize the chances of disseminating information to as many people as possible. Possible channels include using people's phones, of course, sirens, social media, TV and radios, email, and variable message sign. Two technologies in particular make it possible to reach everyone present in a specific area on their mobile phone and thus comply with EU legislation. Cell broadcast is a standardized technology that make it possible to send alerts to geo-targeted population directly on their mobile phone. When people are present in an area, whether they are residents or visitors, where a disaster is ongoing or might happen in the near future. Their phone will display an alert with a distinctive ringtone and vibration. Public authorities can use this technology to alert instantly, usually within 10 seconds, the population present near a disaster, possibility to narrow it down to a few meters, and in a privacy-friendly manner. Location-based SMS is another technology that can be used to alert all the population of a given area in near real time. The main difference with cell broadcast is that alerts are transmitted to the user by regular SMS. Public authorities can use a cellular-based station to disseminate alert to all the phones connected to these stations in an anonymized way. Authority may also be able to access information on the country of origin of the user's SIM card, making it possible to send the alert in different languages to different phones and to get a real-time situational awareness on the number of users around the disaster. We have decided to deploy these two technologies in order to benefit from their complementarity and to be able to adapt the specificities of each French territory. While modern technologies can reach thousands of people in a matter of seconds, we believe that the organizational and human aspects of public alerting in crisis communications should not be forgotten. That's why, in parallel to the technological work, appropriate doctrine and procedures for using this public warning system are being defined. We are addressing questions such as who sends the alerts, at which administrative level, at what time, what content, which language, using which channels. The next slide, please. Of course, the Dfirlet project will not be finished in June 2022. We will continue your roadmap with the integration of new alert channels, such such as the Galileo emergency warning service developed by the EU. Galileo signals are available anywhere in the world. A new generation of mobile phones systematically incorporate Galileo compatibility. It is an excellent tool for reaching people all over the world. The definition of the Galileo emergency warning service has started and is based first of all on the consultation of civil protection organizations operating in the fields of emergency management and on the analysis of their needs. We are following this project with great attention and hope to be able to test the system quickly. In addition, the Dfirlet system, rules system must be ready to run a larger number of users in view of upcoming major events. The 2024 Summer Olympics and Paralympic Games is a specific event that's a perfect use case to increase the capacity of our system. For example, there will be many multilingual messages. Prior to these events, Dfirlet will be tested during the Rugby World Cup 2023. These two milestones are present in many projects such as Dfirlet, and in particular to one concerning critical communication that Guillaume will present to you later on, to whom I will give the floor to talk about eCall.
Thank you, Romain. Hi, everybody. So the last part of the focus on the current emergency communication reforms in France will deal with eCall first and the RRF as last part. So first, the focus on the eCall organization in France. As you can see on this diagram, in France we've chosen a single eCall PSAP organization, a nationwide PSAP organization, and we've chosen to entrust the responsibility of this eCall PSAP to a private organization called the SNSA in French, SNSA, that is to say the National Union of Assistance Companies. So in France, the SNSA is in charge of handling all eCalls and to dispatch this call to the 112 PSAP if needed. So we can move on to the next slide, please. On this slide, we can show the figures of the numbers of eCalls received during the last 10 months. As you can see on the figures, the total number of eCalls are still very low. To compare this figure in France, we handle 80 million calls, emergency calls, within a year, and so we have only roughly around 30,000 eCalls received through the eCall PSAP during the last 10 months. What is remarkable on this picture is the number of calls that are really directed to 112 PSAP. As you can see, on these 30,000 roughly eCalls, only 900 are to be directed to the 112 PSAP. So many of these calls deals with assistance needs by the population and not rescue needs. So that is the very reason we've chosen to put this nationwide eCall PSAP as a way of receiving and filtering all these calls, because most of the calls are not to be directed to the 112 PSAP. And so I also put on the slide a number of indications of information we shared with you. Despite the COVID-19 lockdown periods, so the numbers are on the rise. That means that the car manufacturers are equipping more and more vehicles that integrate the in-vehicle systems of the eCall. So we anticipate a rise, an increase of the number of vehicles within the next years. And we also have this complexity of the European law that we have to deal at the same time with 112 eCall and with TPS eCall. So that's a complexity, but we handle it, of course, in France. I think that's it for the eCall, and if there are questions, we can take the questions afterwards. So the last part will be a short focus on the project I'm in charge at the current moment, which is the broadband communication solution for emergency services and public safety services as well. I have to turn it off. That's live. So in a way, Michel Monrey just told you about the Nexis project, which aims at transforming the way we handle the 112 call in France from phone calls to multimedia emergency communications. And Dfirlet, so the broadband communication project, aims at doing the same, but for the communication between the operational centers and the first responders on the field. So these two projects, therefore, have to be deployed in parallel, because it participates of this global transformation of the assets put at the disposal of the first responder and emergency centers. So on the next slide, we will show what we have at the present moment in France as communication solution for the first responder. We have two categories of equipment. First, we have the tetrapole solution, that is a narrowband radio solution that are currently used by whatever emergency services, police, fire brigades, ambulance services, and so on. It is the equivalent of 2G generation, and beside this equipment, they also have professional smartphones. So the goal of the RRF project is to replace these two equipment by only one equipment that is a mission critical communication tool, as it is said in the language of the 3GPP specification. And so the first responder will have in a single smartphone a hardened smartphone, which is tested to resist every shock, every condition. And they will have what we call priority access on this smartphone over the general public communication. So they will have permanent radio access to the node B, and they will benefit from reliable speed of data through the networks of the mobile network operators. So it is a very reliable solution put at their disposal, and through that solution, they will have in one handset 3 different tools, allowing them to communicate with their operational center and among each other. The first one is what we call N6 solution. mission critical communication services. It is a kind of specialist WhatsApp dedicated to the public safety needs. And through these tools, they will be able to create conference rooms to handle crisis or to handle specific operation. And it is a mission push to talk tools, allowing them to easily create, communication rooms for them. The second tools through that answer will be classical, phone communication, MMS, SMS, real-time text messaging, this kind of things. And the last one is IP access. So through that platform, they will be able to access to their private internet and to have smartphone application, professional smartphone application on the handset as well. But most of all, the goal of RRF is to federate the different services involved in the population protection missions. So it will be open to a large number of services, starting from the French Army forces and going to the ambulance services and police and the gendarmerie, the fire brigade, of course, but also the customs, the French customs and the justice officers and so on. And on the last slide, or the next slide, sorry, I will insist on the main assets of the RRF. There are three main assets. The first one is to provide secure communication, and that is to say that all the data, all the communication will be stored in a state centralized and duplicated data centers within the French Ministry of Interior. It will be, of course, highly available, and the whole architecture has been designed to provide this high availability. And we will guarantee, of course, a high level of data flow, and this data will be encrypted end to end. The second asset is the very high availability of services. Critical communication services simply mean that this kind of communication mustn't stop. They have to be at the permanent disposal of the users. So the whole architecture has been designed to provide such services. So it will rely on the networks of two operators with the capacity of what we call national roaming. That is a very capacity to switch from one network operator to another in case of failure of one technical equipment of the first operator. So that, the first responder of this capacity of benefiting of a mobile communication capacity anytime, anywhere. And the last asset of the RRF solution will be to communicate, anywhere, anytime. That is to say, in case of what we call gray zone, or that is areas where the coverage provided by the operator is not very good, we will have the capacity to add some radio capacities to the permanent networks, to the permanent antennas of the operators. So, and to project them, as a response to a crisis. In France, a few months ago, we had a very tough storms in the southeast of France called the Tempête Alex, and which brought about a very catastrophic situation in this area. and the very capacity of the mobile network operator were affected by this storm. With the RF, we will have the capacity to project additional radio capacity to this area in a short period of time to recover, in a way, the area to provide mobile communication capacity. So that's the three main assets of this project. And on the last slide, that is the roadmap of the RF program. So at the very end of last year, we published the bid to contract with the companies that will help us to create the RF. We plan to start the building of the solution by the end of this year and during the whole 2022. And our goal is to have a first level of service that will be open to the emergency services and traffic safety services at the beginning of 2023. And during the first year, we plan to deploy the solution in 30 departments. As you know, France is divided in departments. That is a territorial organization in which France is structured. So we will open the solution in these first 30 departments in 2023, and we will add 30 more departments the next year in 2024, and we'll have a final coverage in 2025. So that is the goal, and as it has already been said, you know, we have this milestone of these large international sport events that are the Rugby World Cup in 2023 and the Olympics, of course, in 2024. So we have to be ready for these events, and so far so good. So we are on a roadmap. So that's all, I guess. We finished, and we are at your disposal for the questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Guillaume, Romain, and Michel. I think it was a very clear presentation. So now it's time for question and answers. Actually, we received quite a lot in the question box. We will not have time to go through all of them, but I'll try to ask some of them now. We have a few for Michel, a few for Guillaume and for Romain. Maybe we can start with Guillaume on eCall. So there is a question about how it is structured. Basically, it's someone asking how it is filtered in case basically the car needs emergency help or assistance. So how is it organized?
So that's a very good question, of course. So that is the role of the eCall PISO to assess the situation and to check if we are in a case of rescue operation, or if the needs of the people in the car is only assistance, you know, like towing the car or repairing the car. And so that is a very role of this eCall PISA to tell the difference between the two situations. And of course, if there is doubt, there is no doubt that is the call is immediately directed to the 112 PISA in the vicinity of the situation. And we have some you know, figures that are to be respected by the eCall PISA by the SNSA, with which we have contracted in 2016 when we organized the French PISA organization, and so the maximum time allowed to the SNSA to assess the situation with 1 minute. So they have to assess the situation within 1 minute and either direct the call to the 112 PSAP or organize an assistance operation.
Thank you,
Is that
Guillaume.
clear, Laurent?
Very clear. Thank you very much. Now, I think it's a question that will go to Michel. It's about advanced mobile location. Actually, it's several questions about AML, so I'll try to gather them. The first question about AML is for which emergency numbers is AML enabled in France? So this is the first one. And then if you allow me to ask them at the same time, I have another one about AML. Just give me a few seconds. Yes, it's also someone asking if AML is basically deployed for both Android and iOS, and if it works also with other OS. There are not that many, but still. And let me check. I think I had a third one about AML. No, this is it. So please go ahead, Michel.
Okay, thank you. AML works with roughly half of the various emergency numbers in France. It works with the 18, with the fire and rescue services, with 112, of course, with the 15, which is the emergency medical services, with the 114, which is the 112 for ear disabled persons, with the 191, which is the emergency number for aircraft crash, the 196, which is the emergency number for the, as I am a naval man, with the maritime stations. So AML works with all of these numbers with the Android systems, but currently the iOS operating systems carry on AML with only one number per country. It means that we have dealt with Google's that all kinds of emergency numbers might be implemented with AML, but with Apple, this is not possible currently, so far, but it is under studies, and it could happen soon. So iOS platform might be able to operate AML with various emergency numbers.
Thank you, Michel. And I found the third question I had for AML, which is about basically, are you able nowadays to receive location for IP-based calls? And if you do, how does it work?
It will be possible with the emergency services IP network, which will gather any kind of communication, not only phone calls, but also internet communication. And it will be able with the emergency services IP network and to all the fire and rescue services and PSAPs that are connected to Nexis.
Thank you. Very, very clear. Then I have another question, which is about CISU. This is an acronym that has been used during the presentation. So someone is asking what it means, and basically, if you can explain a bit more what it is about.
Of course, but I will give it back to Romain after explaining, first of all, because he's the project director for CISU. CISU means, in the reverse way, for the French to English acronym, it works, emergency, it means cadre interministériel des communications d'urgence, framework, international, not international, inter-agency or inter-ministries framework for handling emergency situations. And it means this is a framework with the definition of the different concepts. You see, like Guillaume, I was prefectural authorities in territories, and it's very difficult to coordinate emergency big operation when people don't speak the same language, because it depends on the emergency service. You can have a very different number of injured or casualties. So CESU will provide the first requirement for the general interoperability. It means that people speak the same language, and we have implemented CESU in a technical way on our systems. I give it back to you, Romain.
Effectively, we want to interconnect all actors, so we need a common language, common protocol, common code, such as ADXL. CESU, that's it. It's a framework which comprehend common language, common protocol and standards for French actors.
You see, on the second and the third column, you have some kind of view of the framework. You have to take cases so that you are describing while you are calling with the emergency callers. You are describing the business, the case, using the framework of the CESU. And that's the way it is implemented. So at the end of the process, it generates a message, an EDXL message, which will be sent to the other contributing fellow PSAPs. Is it clear? I hope I'm clear, and I can try it again if not.
I think it's fine. Thank you. Now I have also a few questions about public warning for Romain. The first one is pretty straightforward. Does FR Alert also contain the social media based alerting strategy? And the second one, today, France doesn't have an efficient public warning system. Paris will be hosting the 2024 Summer Olympics. The system will need to be integrated, tested, proven, and rock solid to ensure the safety of the public, about 20 million people. This is a huge challenge, and other countries have already done this. Which countries are you talking to in order to learn the best practices from what they have put in place? Sorry for the long question.
For the first part, FR Alert also contain social media based alerting system. The French Ministry of Interior uses social networks since abandoning an alert app. For the second part, we have a visit to Belgian colleague and Netherlands, but for the Olympic Games, we will benchmark another country or another megalopole.
Okay, thank you.
In USA maybe, or in Asia maybe.
Thank you, Romain. Thank you very much. We have many other questions, but unfortunately it's already 4:10. So what I suggest to people who couldn't get an answer to their question, you have the contact details of our speakers at the end of this presentation that will be shared later on. So please feel free to contact them. I think Michel has the same comment as last week, I believe. But Michel, please tell us.
Just a legal disclaimer, this is how we are under tender for the emergency services IP network. It won't be made any written response to the email regarding the EasyNet, but I will be glad, my team and me will be glad to answer to any other question.
Thank you, Michel. Thank you to the three of you. It was a very clear presentation. Thank you for your time. I think we reached about 100 participants today, so I believe it was quite an interesting webinar. And now I will give the floor back to Taviana to conclude this call.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks a lot, Jérôme, for moderating the questions. It's true that we had really many. And we invite you to contact individually the speakers. Their contact details are in their final slide. I will just close up this webinar by reminding you that the presentation of today and the recording will be available on the EENA's webinar page and on our YouTube channel from tomorrow afternoon. If you have any questions, suggestions about the running of these webinars, feel free to send us an email. You can find all the next webinar information, what are the next countries presenting the next weeks and months in this slide. As you can see, we will welcome Marieke Ackerman from the Dutch police in 2 weeks to present the emergency communication reforms in the Netherlands. Then we will welcome Portugal, then Sweden in June, and we will end up this semester with Slovenia. You can see also the previous presentations regarding Romania and Bulgaria systems on our EENA website. So I would like just to thank our speakers of today. Thanks to you and your teams for your engagement and efforts to improve emergency response for the citizens and visitors in France. As you said, France faces a variety of challenges, and the emergency response requires continuous adaptation and improvements. So we are really happy to see that France and leaders like you are turned towards innovation in public safety. So for making our life safer, un grand merci. And I will invite our participants to contact our speakers to ask your questions, as we are sure that you can learn a lot from their experience and their ongoing and further projects. So thanks everyone, and take care. We hope that you enjoyed this webinar as much as us for the organization, and we wish you a nice rest of the day. Bye-bye.
Thank you again. Bye.